Welcome to Financial Focus, brought to you by GulfCoast Financial Services founder and CEO, John Kuykendall. John and his team of financial, legal, and tax professionals have been providing North Florida savers and investors sound, comprehensive financial guidance for over 30 years, helping you to achieve important life and planning goals. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and tune in for more Financial Focus by visiting GulfCoastFinancial.net.
And welcome into the program. This is Financial Focus, brought to you by the best of the best in financial services, as named by the readers of the Lake City Reporter. 8 years and consecutive running. They are the team from GulfCoast Financial Services with more than 30 years, 31. John, happy birthday. Serving North Central Florida savers and investors and achieving those important financial goals. Yet another year in the books.
Yeah, Peter, it seems like just yesterday we started. And when I think back where we started and where we are today, it's amazing the change in technology and thinking and just the tools and resources that we have to work with today. It's amazing how far we've come.
Trying to think back what I was doing 31 years ago, John. It wasn't yesterday. We did not have near the technology and resources, though. And a lot has changed, but a lot has stayed the same, right? Still the question on the minds of everyday savers and investors, even those who planned diligently, is, have I done enough? Have I saved enough? Am I prepared for retirement? And you help answer those questions.
Well, that's right. But, now we think about that more because I think in past generations, because it didn't take as much, things were a lot cheaper and things were simpler. We didn't have internet bills and cable bills and cell phone bills and all the traveling. I can remember growing up, if we went on a vacation, it was a rarity. And so now we go all the time. And we think that's what we're supposed to do. So retirement is more difficult now than it's ever been, especially when you consider taxes and where we're going with taxes and all the things that impact our retirement. Income planning, as we've talked about on this show over and over again, is more important than anything we can do.
Yeah, well, a recent Kiplinger article kind of highlighted a retirement income distribution plan is as critical as saving. So they're saying not only should you save, obviously, should build that retirement nest egg, but having a specific retirement income distribution plan is just as critical in formulating and maintaining that retirement confidence. And they talk about some big words: accumulation, easing into distribution, having several distribution strategies. John, these are the things that you put together each and every day for your clients there at GulfCoast Financial Services, which is probably one of the reasons why 8 years consecutive and running, you have been named best of the best in financial services.
Well, that's right. When we look at our financial focused income plan, we're looking at distribution. We're looking at what's the most effective way that we can have our money in retirement, because we're living off our savings. We have to have savings in order to have distribution. And so as we take that distribution over our life, what's the best way to take it, the most tax efficient way? And those are the things that we look at in that financially focused income plan every day, Peter, for all of our clients.
Do you find that more people are worried or bringing up their concerns after a year like 2022, like what we just saw with the volatility in the market, John?
Yeah. In fact, I just met with a client this morning. Her and her husband, very conservative people, don't spend a lot of money, but they don't have a lot. And so they're very concerned about the market and how the market's going to affect them. And, are they going to cut back? And one of the things that we try to tell people here when we meet with them is that, I'm a firm believer in Tom Hegnia's 3 phases of retirement. You have the go-go years, and that's when you first retire, the slow go, which is in the middle, and then the no-go. And so I want my clients to be able to go, slow go while they can, so that when we get into those no-go years, we still have money to live, but at least they've enjoyed themselves and had the kind of retirement that they deserve.
A very delicate balance, John. I think either extreme is not what most people envision, either running out or passing away, and there's a pile of money left over that they could have lived a more fulfilled life. You're planning that financial focus plan sort of sets the parameters where we can strike that balance and stay within some guidelines.
That's right. And that's what we talked about this morning was that we need to come up with a how much are we spending? How much are we actually spending each month on our budget? And what are we planning on doing? And then let's put all those things into the financially focused plan. And if we've got needs, like in next month, I'm going to need tires, or in 6 months, I'm going to need this. We add that into the plan so that, we don't want to be like the guy that ended up at the end of Halloween and still had 10 bags of candy left over because he was afraid he was going to give out too much. Yeah.
And then, I'm still eating those Reese's peanut butter cups, by the way.
You have to eat it, by the way. And so then you just gain weight. I've often wondered whether it was better to keep that candy or give it away.
My waistline would tell you better to give it away.
So we want to make sure that they're not so stingy that they don't do anything. But on the other hand, I've seen clients who spent way too much in the beginning and then didn't have anything later, or, had those extraordinary family expenses with children who were still living with the parents who spent too much money trying to keep the kids going.
I'll tell you what I was doing 31 years ago, John. Back in those days, toilet paper and eggs cost so little that we would actually use them on people's houses that ran out of candy too early, or the night before, just mischief night is what we called it. But acknowledging the need for income, obviously defining what that need is going to be, and then formulating a plan, kind of the steps to set all of this process up so that we don't run out or have too much.
Well, that's right. We have to figure out exactly how much we're going to need. We look at how much Social Security, how many pensions you have in, how many annuities you have coming due that'll give you monthly income, and then look at expenses. And then what we try to do with that financially focused income plan is we try to make up the difference so that we can maximize their returns in retirement, and also look at it from a tax advantage position.
And there are some variables that you work into this planning that you discuss and sort of examine how reliable these variables are, or that they will continue to be into the future, correct?
Well, that's right. We look at taxation. We want to make sure that they understand what tax bracket they're in. Doing certain things is going to affect their tax brackets, and how we can keep them in the lowest tax bracket. We look at inflation. That's part of the plan. We look at anticipated rate of return. We don't want to be over optimistic, but we don't want to be under either. So we want to have a conservative rate of return. And then healthcare and being able to provide for our loved ones as we age is certainly something that's very important. And then, like we talked about earlier, the discretionary spending, remembering that there are certain things they're going to need to buy as we go through retirement.
We want our money to last at least our lifetime and an extra day. But in order to achieve and accomplish that, John, got to have a plan put together, and probably need that discretionary security fund there at the end, just in case some higher elements of expenses do come up, such as healthcare. I know that can be such a big one. But there are some other ways to plan and prepare for that expense or potential expense as well, correct?
Well, that's right. And we talk to our clients about that. We look at long-term care and how we can help them provide long-term care by using some of the assets we have to give us that asset-based long-term care provision. And so we do that when we meet with people. It's something that we feel very keenly aware of, and something that we want to make sure that they know the cost of long-term care and how we're going to provide for it. And then we also look at their estate planning documents.
John, how can you compare and contrast this model of the financially focused written retirement income plan to the more traditional approach of diversification and asset allocation? Because I know that you have, in previous editions of the program, really kind of highlighted some distinct differences from kind of that traditional approach.
Well, I think that over the years, Peter, we've learned a lot. We've learned about the sequence of returns. and how the market, as we pull our money out of the market, how that's going to affect our money long term. We look at, we know that asset allocation is how we're investing our funds. Income allocation is how we're going to spend our funds. And so I really believe that this income planning is revolutionary from the standpoint that it's not going to give you a 20-page report showing you have $14 million left over when you die. It's going to give you a 20-page report that shows we hope that we can give you enough income to do what you need to do and have very little money left over. And if we have a lot, then that's a blessing. But we're not looking for that. We're looking to provide for you while you're here. And that's more important now than ever before.
Yeah, John,
who would have thought that we would have had the inflation rate that we had last year?
Right.
And only a couple of years of that will wipe out a good retirement plan.
Yeah, and hopefully that does not continue, at least at its current rates. But I know some amount of inflation is also healthy for the economy because money and the money supply sort of expands. There's not just a finite amount there, and that's the way it's supposed to be in a healthy growth-oriented economy. But John, we've got to factor that in. That's one of those assumptions that you carefully not only include into the design of the plan, but also examine in the planning process, which is an ongoing process. You pull these financially focused written retirement income plans out and review and evaluate the progress and the measure against some of those assumptions.
Well, that's right. The one we used this morning is actually one we set up 4 years ago, and we have updated it every year, and we will continue to update it. And we're going to update it a little more when they give us their monthly budget and that they're spending now. But we look at what their expenses are. We look at, if they set up a tithe for their church, what does that tithe mean compared to what they have today? A lot of people want to give to the church, and I think that's great. But we set those tithes up based upon what we were making when we were working. And the Bible says give 10% of what you make. So if we earn less during retirement, therefore we need to worry about that and cut it back. And so those are the kind of things we look at. People forget a lot of the stuff that they set up. It's like one time when we were doing one of these plans, and we were doing an insurance review as part of the plan, and the woman had her ex-husband as the beneficiary on one of her policies. And her current husband wasn't very happy about that, but we were able to get it changed.
Catch it and correct it, right? That's one of the important factors and moral of this story is that if you are proactive, you can catch and correct major oversights like that. John, another thing that I think is an oversight is sort of leaving retirement up to chance. And I've always sort of marveled at those Monte Carlo simulators that basically you run any situation and it's like 30 years from now, you could either pass away and pass on $20 million or you will be out of money within 12 years. The financially focused written retirement income plan serves to sort of narrow that range of potential outcomes pretty substantially.
Yeah, we're looking at having a much more precise number. It's still a guesstimate based upon what's inputted, but based upon what we think inflation is. But like you said, we change that every year. So, you've got to have a better number. We're not looking to leave a large legacy. I know back 15 years ago, 10 years ago, when we were doing this, when we first started doing financial planning with financial profiles, if you remember that program, you would end up with $4 or $5 million that you were going to pass on to your kids. And everybody was concerned about how we were going to leave the money and where it was going. And we were more concerned about leaving money to the kids. I guarantee you right now, everybody's concerned about having enough money in retirement to live and not have to live with the kids or ask them for money.
And even if running out of money is not a chief concern or even a concern on your radar, more than likely, John, that same individual is going to enjoy and appreciate being as efficient as possible with their money. And bottom line, the way that we've mostly set ourselves up, even if we don't need income at all, the IRS probably is going to require it at a certain point in time. So going through this specific financially focused written retirement income planning process is going to help us be efficient and achieve those goals for making the most out of each and every dollar. And you mentioned sequence risk. John, I know you've got a couple pretty enlightening reports that really define and help us to better understand and educate us on sequence of returns risk and what that means into and throughout retirement that are really fantastic. So kind of want to give you an opportunity to talk about that for a moment and to talk about the ability, if somebody would like to get a better handle on sequence of returns risk and exactly how big of a risk this really is, that they can get in touch with you and the team at Gulf Coast Financial.
Well, you're right, Peter. I mean, over the past, we've looked at sequence of return, and it's something that a lot of people haven't thought about. But as the market makes money and as the market loses money, the market doesn't make money every year. We know that. And it's not going to return 10% or 15 or 20% every year. There are going to be some years it's 2%. There's some years that it's going to be minus. And so as we pull money out of our accounts, if we've proven that if we take money in a down market and we take the same amount of money, we have a 20-year period where we have actually the same returns, but we reverse them, turn them upside down. One of those 20-year periods is going to be a number where you're going to end up with a lot of extra money, and the other one is going to be you're going to be very short on money because it's going to run out. Same
returns. It's just the order in which they occur.
Yeah, it just depends in the order in which we get those returns. And so people don't realize that. We've got this theory or myth that we say that the market makes 10% a year. And over time it has, but it doesn't do that every year. And so if I'm pulling out 5% or 6% or 4% and my account's down 14%, I'm actually down 18, 19, 20%. And so my money's going to run out much faster than if I was in an up market to begin with and I had time to build money to then last me during those years when the market's down.
And I think a lot of people hope and believe and think that retirement is going to work out, but would be a little bit more confident if they had that written retirement income, that financially focused plan in place. So that's why John Kuykendall and the team there at Gulf Coast Financial Services, ladies and gentlemen, make that opportunity available to you to get that put together, to review and evaluate and update that each and every year. All you need to do to take advantage and begin that conversation in the planning process is pick up the phone, give them a call, 386-755-9018. That is 386-755-9018. If you would like to see this information on sequence of returns risk and get a better handle and understanding on what that means to your retirement, and then of course the things that you can do to address this very specific retirement risk, pick up the phone, give a call. You can request that report, go over it on your own, read it, dive in, absorb it, better understand it, and then financially focused written retirement income planning time it will be, because you'll want that in place once you understand sequence of returns risk. John, once again, always appreciate your guidance and insight here on the program. And ladies and gentlemen, if you'd like to be in touch, 386-755-9018, 386-755-9018. And John, once again, thank you for helping so many savers and investors in North Central Florida put that plan together and have a greater degree of financial and retirement confidence.
Thank you, Peter. I hope we can help somebody out there today.
Best of the best in financial services, 8 consecutive years and running, ladies and gentlemen, as named by the readers of the Lake City Reporter. Give Gulf Coast Financial Services a call, 386-755-9018.
Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and tune in for more financial focus by visiting GulfCoastFinancial.net. The information presented on this program is provided for informational purposes only, without warranty of accuracy, completeness, or suitability for a particular purpose. This program is not intended to be and does not constitute financial, investment, legal, or tax advice. This information is general in nature and not specific enough to be construed as advice. You should not make any decision based on the information presented on this program without independent consultation with an appropriately licensed professional or competent advisor. Investment in securities or the market involves a potential risk for loss of principal. Trading, therefore, may not be suitable for all listeners. Annuity guarantees are based solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing company. Withdrawals of growth from annuities may be taxable as ordinary income in the year it is taken. Individuals should review contracts for specific details of the product's features and costs. Early withdrawals may subject the owner to penalties, fees, or taxes. John Kuykendall is registered with and securities are offered through Kovac Securities Inc., member FINRA SIPC, found online at www.kovacsecurities.com. Advisory services are offered through GulfCoast Financial Services Inc., a registered investment advisor in Florida. GulfCoast Financial Services Inc. is not affiliated with Kovac Securities Inc. or Kovac Advisors Inc. Past performance is not indicative of future results. All investing involves risk. Investment decisions should be based on your own goals, time horizon, and tolerance for risk. Due to various factors including changing market conditions and/or applicable laws, the content may no longer be reflective of current opinions or positions.